Welcome everyone, this is Dr. Clark in the Center for Weight Loss Success, and tonight Losing Weight USA, I'm going to talk a little bit about sabotage behavior. Sabotage, it's a cool word to say, but it also is something that can occur and kind of derails our weight loss plans. Sabotage, whether it's self-sabotage or we have kind of other people that are sabotaging our best efforts. All right, welcome to Losing Weight USA. This is real-time answers to your weight loss questions, some of the latest updates and research, as well as a little bit of expert advice. It gives you direct access not only to me, but you should be receiving the health tips and recipes via the membership portal. Each webinar is going to last about 30 minutes or so. If you have questions, type them into the chat box as we go along. We'll get to them at the end as time permits, and typically we'll make time permit. And if you think of something once we're all done, just give us a yell here at the Center for Weight Loss Success. The email is success@cfws.com. Phone number 757-873-1880. All right, sabotage behavior. So let's get the screen flipped over for us. All right, so sabotage behaviors. What we're going to talk about then, we'll define what is sabotage behavior. We'll talk about self-sabotage because this is typically almost the most common sabotage behavior. And then a couple little tidbits about how do you combat self-sabotage behavior, then how other people tend to sabotage our efforts and how do we combat that. And then we'll talk about a couple of events that are very typical, which holidays, vacations, that type of thing, and what can we do to actually handle those. All right, eat to live, not live to eat. Don't you wish it was just that easy? So often you know what to do, but doing the right thing can be hard. Okay? So why is that? Why is doing the right thing so doggone hard? Because often it's sabotage behavior that can derail our best efforts. So what is sabotage behavior? Okay, so what is sabotage? Sabotage, if you look it up in the dictionary, you'll get some answers, something like the act of hampering, deliberately subverting, or hurting the efforts of another. Another definition is the deliberate action to destroy property or equipment. Okay, hopefully they're not destroying property or equipment, but if you're kind of working against you, then kind of basically it's destroying it. Right. So what about self-sabotage behavior? Because again, this often is kind of the more common things. So what are some self-sabotage behaviors? So one of the things is that, are your goals actually realistic? Goals are good. I don't want to say goals aren't good. But are your goals realistic? We talked about SMART goals early in the year. So sometimes if they're really unrealistic, it'll never get there. And once that becomes, it'll never get there. Subsequently, then the wheels tend to fall off the whole machine type of thing. All right. What about other ones? Doing too much too soon. Sometimes we want to dive in and do apps, make all these changes. Going to make all this tremendous, literally a 180-degree turn. We're going to start exercising every day. I'm going to be eating perfectly. I'll be, doing all the right things. So trying to do too much too soon. So, what is sometimes a better plan is kind of working through little changes, and little changes then often lead to big changes, as opposed to I'm going to change absolutely everything right now. Now, for some people, completely revamping your life, so to speak, can work, and they can actually do that. But for many of us, it doesn't work so well. It's just kind of a setup for things not to go well, and then all of a sudden we're right back where we started. Okay. All right, another self-sabotage behavior is kind of the excuse for every occasion. And that's kind of the way we think. Always an excuse. Well, I didn't exercise because, Sammy called me and wanted to visit for a couple minutes. I was going to do this. I was sticking with my diet plan, but somebody brought cupcakes to the office. There's an excuse for everything. And it's always kind of, when I say there's an excuse for everything, sometimes it also means that, gee, it's never my own fault. It's always somebody else's fault. How about relying solely on willpower? Okay, so like, I'm just never going to do this again, or I'm never going to have this again, or I will. Willpower can only go so far. But willpower, as we've talked about previously too, is like a muscle. So kind of flexing that muscle, exercising that muscle is a very good idea. But if you're relying just solely on willpower, like, I will never do this again, or I'll never eat this again, I'll never have another bowl of ice cream, or whatever it is, relying solely on willpower often won't work too well. We have to have more than just a willpower plan. We actually have to have a true plan we can work with. Now, listening to how you feel helps counteract these, as well as kind of journaling. Journaling is one of the best tools there is. So I do encourage people, when people start kind of questioning themselves, kind of write things down. Writing things down is a good way to reevaluate, whether it be knowing exactly what I'm eating, knowing exactly what I'm doing, and kind of writing it down can be very, very helpful. So keeping a journal, very helpful, whether you keep it online, on your phone, actually keep a little notebook that you write it down in, whatever it is, good idea. All right, so what do we do to combat these kind of self-sabotage behavior? Well, number one is just set realistic goals. You know, if the goal was to lose 100 pounds in just 3 months or something like that, and it was like, well, that's probably unrealistic. I've seen it happen, but that very likely for most people is going to be pretty darn unrealistic. So you want to set realistic goals. Healthy weight loss, sometimes anywhere between 1 and 2.5 pounds a week. That's good weight loss right there. And if you can kind of keep that going, that setting realistic goals is going to be something that's key. We all like things to happen a lot faster, a lot more, but sometimes that's not really realistic. Okay. Throw away the excuses. Again, we tend to have excuses for everything, and we tend to want to blame everything else, or surround, whether it be our environment, the people surrounding us, whatever. So, but throw away the excuses and kind of take responsibility for this. And you have to do it. No one else can do this for you. Don't be in a hurry. You didn't gain the weight overnight. Typically, it's been 40, 50, or even more years that it took you to gain the weight. So thinking that you're going to lose it all there in just a few months, that might not be so realistic. You do need to keep well stocked. What I mean by that, keep your kitchen well stocked, pantry well stocked, refrigerator well stocked with the right foods. You need to make the right foods easily accessible. And the foods you're trying to avoid, they need to be very difficult to access. So I would say non-readily accessible. They either need to be hidden away or never make it into your refrigerator, never make it into your pantry or your shelves or whatever. So it shouldn't be in your lunchbox then. Try not to overbuy. We kind of snuck that discussion in the propinquity discussion where we talked about kind of we tend to like the Costco effect. Okay, when we go there, we tend to overbuy. And we overbuy, and then we'll often, because we have such a good supply of something, we tend to overuse it. And it wouldn't matter whether it was food product, potato chips, or whether it be, healthy things too. We'll tend to overuse when we overbuy. And subsequently then, once you get down to this little, when you get to this area where you don't have much left, then we tend to be kind of economical with all this. Like, I'm going to kind of ration these out then for the last little bit. But kind of once we kind of overbuy, we also tend to overuse. Okay. Pre-plan your day. Okay. And this should be both meals and activity. And a good thing to do is actually write it down. What are you actually going to do? Okay. What are your meals going to be? Plan them out ahead of time. Good thing to do is kind of, sit down on Sunday or something and kind of plan out the week. Okay? Because we typically have a decent idea of what's going to happen during the week. And kind of once we kind of overbuy, we also tend to overuse. Obviously things change, and sometimes life throws the curveball, and it didn't really, the meal planning didn't quite go, but also have contingency plans then too. So pre-plan your day, pre-plan your week, always a good idea. And if it's just looking at the day, then okay, sitting down for a few minutes at the very beginning of the day or the night before and kind of plan out, okay, what's tomorrow going to bring? Where are my hurdles going to be? What's going to make it hard? What's going to help me make it easier? When am I going to do what? And when am I going to exercise? What am I going to eat? All those kind of things. You want to replace your negative thinking with what you're doing right. Okay. Yes, we all make mistakes, but reality is we actually probably do many things right. And you want to replace that negative thinking. Oh, I can't really do this, or I can't quite do this right. It's like, what with all the things that you are doing right? So replace the negative thinking with what you're actually doing well. And finally, I know I say this probably every time, is journal. Write it down. Writing it down gives us the best lay of the land. It's like we can't figure out where the problem is if we don't actually write these things down. Often even when we think we're doing it all right, if you write it down, you may find, oh, here's a place I can actually change. Here's a place where I can improve. And it's one of the best ways, writing things down. Now, a lot of times it's not just that self-sabotage, but it's also others. Reality is people do sabotage us. We like to think they won't, and they're all there to help us, but that just isn't true. And you kind of divide that into unconscious saboteurs or conscious saboteurs. The unconscious saboteurs don't really realize they think they're being supportive, but they think they're being very helpful, but they actually kind of knock you off track by acting out of habit, whether it's kind of getting you away from your exercise plan because, hey, don't we typically do this on Friday evening or whatever it is. Conscious saboteurs, they're typically more obvious. Okay? It's like, hey, don't you want just one more of these cookies? One little bite of this won't hurt. It's so good. Or asking you to do something else when they know it's your time to go exercise, or go to the fitness center, or it's your time that, hey, I know I'm doing this on this day, and they'll ask you to do something different, which really doesn't fit into your weight loss plan. And some of those people that just have a constant discussion about food. If someone's talking about food all the time, it's hard to not also think about and discuss food as well. It's like, why bother? There's no sense torturing yourself. You're going to talk about food all the time. Stay away from those people. So what do you do? Kind of combating saboteurs. You want to communicate with friends and family assertively. You want to let them know that, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Another good thing to do is try to recruit them to help you. Meaning that if you're recruiting them, really asking them, hey, I want your help with this, as opposed to leave me alone. Okay. Those are two different things. And a lot of times people respond much better to the, hey, I would really like your help with this. I'm trying to accomplish this. This is how I'm doing it. Boy, if you could be supportive of that, if you could help me do this, it would be really appreciated. Now, if they're just not going to go along with that, then there may be a time to say, okay, look, we got to separate from ourselves there. Just make other plans, so to speak, and not spend so much time with them. Have your responses ready. What I mean by that is if someone's offering you something, every day they bring in the donuts to the office and, hey, have one, this is the greatest donut ever. Okay, have your responses ready. It's like, what am I going to say when this situation comes up? When Uncle Johnny comes in with the whatever it is they're bringing in and wants to give it to you, and he wants you to share it with him, have those responses ready. And that can be true because typically we'll have a good idea of when are these things going to occur. whether it be visits at home or typically once you've been around the office for a while, you have a good idea of when are these little trigger problems going to happen. Right? And so subsequently then prepare your responses. Okay? If you have a trigger food, okay, many people do, okay, if you have a trigger food, well, keep it out of sight. Okay, one, to try not to get it and try not to have it around you at all. But if you do have that and it has to be there for some reason, try to keep it completely out of sight. Because if it's something that you're looking at all the time, so if there's that pantry or we keep stuff in the pantry or stuff on the shelves, like, well, have the healthy stuff there that's easily visible. Have the unhealthy stuff hidden away, completely. It's going to, keeping it in non-see-through type of containers works much better than having it sit right out there in front of you, just begging to be eaten. Okay? Stop being so polite. Sometimes out of politeness, we just try to, okay, I'll have some, make everybody happy. It's just easier to acquiesce, and then subsequently their people aren't bothering me all the time about what I should have or do or whatever. So stop being so polite. Sometimes you need to be selfish, especially in getting started in a weight loss plan. It's like, don't worry about being polite, be a little selfish, and subsequently then you'll probably make more progress in your weight loss and with your health plan there. And again, it kind of goes back to ask for the saboteur support. So people are going to kind of work on sabotaging you, ask for their support. And typically people don't want to, directly go against your wishes. So if you ask them for support and kind of recruit them to help you, sometimes that can be extremely beneficial then. So lastly, we talked about what about some sabotaging events or situations, and they include really vacations, office life, holidays. These are probably the three most common ones that are out there. So with vacations, one, you don't completely not have fun, okay, or not feel like, gee, I can't have this or I can't have it, but keep it really in moderation. You want to also incorporate a lot more activity into your vacation. Have kind of an active vacation as opposed to I'm going to sit with my feet up all the time and eat bonbons, whatever. Okay. Try new foods. So if you've been looking at trying some new protein sources, way to provide it, search for that new protein source when you're out there. It's a good thing to do, and actually it may help you significantly, help you avoid some of these other trigger problems there. You want to keep alcohol in check. Not so much that, geez, drinking's bad or anything, or alcohol's bad. So, well, yes, it is extra calories. What it tends to do is we tend to release those inhibitions. And those inhibitions subsequently aren't so much eating, but also not the just dancing on the table, but the eating side of the whole thing. When we have alcohol, we typically are going to eat more, and sometimes we'll eat things that we wouldn't typically eat. Plan your splurges. It's meant to be enjoyed. Vacations, they're meant to be enjoyed. So enjoy them, have a set amount, and get back on track. All right, what about office life? Okay, well, talk to your coworkers. You talk to your coworkers, you may want to share with them, hey, I'm trying to live healthier, trying to lose some weight, be healthier, and ask for their support again. When it gets time to take a break, don't just walk into the break room where all the snacks tend to be. Just, okay, actually take that walk. Go completely outside the area. Either walk completely outside, go somewhere else. And then keep healthy snacks available, whether it be in your desk drawer, whether it be in the refrigerator there at work, so that other things are available even when there are unhealthy things sitting out there. Now for holidays, okay, you want to plan for events, but basically, especially around the Christmas holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, that is it's an event that tends to be a social event. There may be multiple ones over a number of weeks, but you want to plan for them. It's like we typically know what's going to happen. So we kind of know what's going to be there, and it's going to be, okay, what am I going to do? From having something healthy eat before you leave, and therefore you're only going to have a small amount of something. And, a good idea is never go hungry. The same thing with when you go shopping, never shop hungry. Okay. So you want to plan these things out and kind of bring something healthy with you. Socialize away from the food, meaning that if there's a food table and that, you don't want to be standing around the food table and doing your socialization. No, get whatever little food you want and then leave that area and do your socializing other places. If we socialize in front of the food, we tend to just slowly eat more food too. Now, around the holidays, it's also a good time to kind of schedule some personal training sessions, because they're going to keep you accountable, as well as the extra workouts, the extra hard workouts, going to help burn more calories too. It gives you a little more leeway. Realize you're not alone. Find that workout buddy, that weight loss buddy, and there are many, many people, trying to lose weight, trying to be healthier. Find that buddy you can do this with, you can commiserate with, but also you can plan with, and you keep each other accountable. All right, so a few tips for success then. Identifying sabotage behaviors that you or others may have. Very important to do this. Sometimes often we think we're doing things correctly, or sometimes we get, gee, I'm not doing this quite correctly, but why? Review the tools for combating saboteurs in risky situations. You'll want to separate yourself from the risky situations as necessary. And a couple of really good resources. They're two books. They're both by a woman named Judith Beck. She's a psychologist. And the first is The Diet Trap Solution. The second is The Beck Diet Solution. And basically they're set up to kind of help overcome obstacles. The Beck Diet Solution kind of walks you through, it's not a particular diet, but kind of walks you, how do you make these behavioral changes? It's the behavioral changes that are really important. Yes, you want to be eating the right things, but it's kind of these eating type behaviors, kind of the psychology of why we do things, and then how do you change those behaviors? So first again was The Diet Trap Solution by Judith Beck. And the second one is The Beck Diet Solution, also by Judith Beck. All right, questions out there. Now, obviously, if there are questions, you know where to find us here at the Center for Weight Loss Success. I do encourage people to come by, get your body comp check. You want to be kind of routinely keeping an eye on this. Make sure you're losing fatty tissue, not losing the lean body mass. You should be receiving the health tips and weekly recipes. Log into the membership site. Tune in each Tuesday, 6 o'clock for the next webinar. Watch your email for the invite and link. And remember, it's your life. Make it a healthy one. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.